Okay, let's see what Skeletron is like on For the Worthy Master mode. Here we go. Ouch! That's not a good way to start this fight. Hey there, my name is Salendrak, and welcome to the next episode of my For the Worthy Master Mode playthrough series. When we left off last time, we had just enjoyed a decisive victory over the Eye of Cthulhu, who had been avoiding us. Today, we'll fight him a few more times, as well as make attempts against King Slime, the Eater of Worlds, and Skeletron. How will we fare against these bosses? Place your bets down in the comments. And as always, if you find this type of video helpful, informative, or at the very least somewhat entertaining, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe so YouTube will share with others the joy of me dying repeatedly. Now let's get to it! After defeating the Eye of Cthulhu, it was almost morning and I decided to continue construction of my Hilltop NPC cottage next to my base. I've never viewed myself as the most accomplished builder in Terraria, and for most of my little pylon villages, I generally go with pretty basic houses for my NPCs. But at my main base, I usually try to make something that looks at least half decent. This house will be a basic little cottage with a thatched roof made mostly out of living logs. I use a variety of background walls to give texture and contrast and paint them for a more uniform look. Mudstone brick topped with plank walls on the lower levels, ebonwood walls for the vertical panels, and regular wood walls for the horizontal frames of the window, with wood fences for the window itself. Nothing fancy, but I think it looks pretty nice. I add some lights and put in a mix of furniture for variety, and soon enough it's a home and Evie the Dryad arrives. I buy some pumpkin seeds from her right away. Pumpkin pie got nerfed pretty hard in 1.4. It used to provide a 45-minute food buff, but now it's only 8 minutes. Still, it gives a more powerful buff than the basic fish I currently have, and is more conveniently gathered compared to fishing. After planting my seeds near my volcano trap, it's almost night. I had earlier assigned my nurse and arms dealer to the cottage, and as the victory celebration lanterns start rising into the sky, they've warped to their new home, allowing me to buy my first pylon. I spend the rest of the night playing with the Eye of Cthulhu some more and take him down a couple more times with no difficulty. I sell most of the loot, which earns some pretty decent coin, and then start working on the roof of the cottage. However, before I can even finish the frame, I get a message that the project is being interrupted by a dastardly army of goblins approaching from the west. I quickly visit the demolitionist to stock up on more grenades. They were really effective last time and quite a bit of fun, and the goblins arrive before I can leave the building. Evie gets ganked right away as I head over to the volcano area. I could have just hung out down there, especially now that I have a spin to win mace, but I find it more fun to fight these battles myself and stay up in the arena. I get a little low on health every now and then, but overall the invasion is pretty uneventful, and soon enough the goblins are routed and I prepare to go back to my roof building project. I'm a little low on wood though, so I grab acorns from base, then plant a bunch all over underneath my fighting arena. Then it's back to the cottage to continue with the roof. I make a frame using wood and living log walls and fill in the background with hay walls. Then a living leaf wand makes the thatched roof on the exterior, which I paint brown, and living leaf walls go in the background to add further texture and depth, also getting painted brown, then randomly hammer pieces to create variety and a smoother looking shape. And soon enough, it's basically done. The rest of the night is spent sorting up my inventory and storage, and in the morning, I head to the Dryad to buy more pumpkin seeds and then make more yummy pumpkin pie back at the house. Now that I can buy planter boxes from the Dryad, my next task is to build a proper herb garden so I can start reaping the benefits of various potions to further accelerate my progress. The space between my houses is a little narrow for my normal setup, but aside that it will work with modification. I usually plant 15 of each flower, but to get the look I want in this space, I'll just do it a little bit smaller. But first I decide to flesh out my storage room a little with an extra row of stone slab. This always makes it look nicer anyways. I'm still really low on wood, so I decide to flatten the area to the west of my base for a tree garden. I also widened the tunnel under my base, and over by the motel I've started removing flower pots of grown herbs. I'll need the seeds for the main garden and will basically decommission this spot anyways. Just before dawn, I remove the platform bridge between the two hills so I can move it a little higher, thereby widening the area for the flower garden. The pylon goes right in the middle, and then I head over to the Dryad to buy the planter boxes. There are 7 different types of planter boxes you can buy, which become available after various pre-hard mode bosses are defeated, one for each type of herb, but the differences are purely visual. Since I only have access to the blink root planter boxes, that's what I use to make my garden, though I will replace these with the herb-specific boxes later just because it looks nice. First, I use wooden beams to make the vertical supports. This is purely aesthetic and really not needed. At first I put it too narrow though, as I don't like crowding the pylon like that. So I space them out one more block, then make a row of planter boxes. I do 3 rows of 13 boxes on each side, and then a final row of 13 across the top, making my garden double as a bit of a pylon shrine. Aw, how beautiful! Some living candles go in the middle for illumination with living lamps on the sides. Then I grab my flower seeds from the house, get them planted, and check another project off my list. I still need seeds for waterleaf, deathweed, and fire blossom, but this is a pretty good start. My next project is to attempt to make it out to the coast. In order to speed up my journey, I go ahead and make a couple of swiftness potions, gobble some food, and then pick a side and start running. I stop in my tree garden to grab some wood and also grab some palm wood in the desert oasis. If I make it to the coast, I'll want to put up a quick duplex house and assign my nurse and arms dealer so I can get an ocean pylon placed, and palm wood makes a good beach house material. Then I'm off running, grabbing a few more really tall trees along the way. I am really loving this sandstorm in a bottle, particularly in the jungle where it allows me to just fly over the various bodies of water. I pause now and then to get some mahogany and bamboo, also good construction materials, and am quickly in new territory. I venture a little bit into a jungle cave, but really want to get to the coast before night, so I don't go very far. A goblin scout on the other side of the jungle tells me I'm getting close to my destination. I see the top of a cave just below and venture down, hoping to find a sword shrine, but no shrine. At least there is a chest though. I'm really hoping to get a magic mirror at some point, but no luck here. After climbing a really big hill, I find a surface pool of lava, another cave with a couple of chests, and then finally the sands of the ocean shores. I made it! I don't immediately see the angler, but as I start clearing the ground to make it level, see him napping off to the side and wake him up. Let's see if I can keep him alive until I can make a house. I quickly make a basic frame for a 2-room dwelling. I'm not going for anything fancy right now, but will maybe upgrade it later. Before long, the rooms are done, and I assign the nurse and arms dealer and then run off screen to get them both moved in and buy my second pylon. I then reassign the angler and the dye trader to keep the pylon active. The angler's happy here, and I'll want to do fishing quests as often as I can. I then start building a platform over the ocean so I can explore the deep water, and soon find a water chest containing an inner tube. This will make it easy to get up to the top for air. I've never used this accessory before, but quickly figure out that I can sink by holding down with it equipped, otherwise it sends me floating up to the surface really fast. After morning arrives, I add some windows to the rooms as a finishing touch, and then use the pylon to warp back to base. Then, after putting some stuff away, head the other direction. In the corruption biome, I pause to grab more ebon wood, as well as vile mushrooms, which are needed to craft the item that summons the Eater of Worlds. And soon enough, I'm in new territory, having managed to not die falling off the cliff this time. At the edge of the corruption, I find the entrance to the dungeon, and wow, that's some bright pink! Also a feature of the For the Worthy seed, I believe. I enter a little bit to gather some books and see if I can find an easy water bolt, but no luck, and I don't dare venture any further lest something unpleasant happens. I do manage to grab a water candle though, which can be used to increase enemy spawn rates and is useful for farming mobs. I then continue onward, get a few more surface chests, and manage to get hit but not die to a dart trap. Nice! And speaking of deaths, here we are almost 2 hours of gameplay into the episode without a single death yet. Wow! Another big hill on this side of the world, and then I'm at the ocean once again. I can't build another ocean pylon house, so I just go straight to making a platform over the ocean to see if there are any water chests down there. I carpet bomb the ocean floor with glow sticks, then dive down myself, and yup, another chest. My inventory is really full, so I quickly clear up some space, then put on the flippers to swim up to the surface. I probably should have brought that inner tube, but oh well. After clearing more inventory, I head back down to gather the chest and run along the ocean floor to get back out. No more chests, so I decide to run back to the dungeon and start making an arena for Skeletron. Since the corruption goes all the way up to the dungeon on the west, I make the arena off to the east side. I'm not sure exactly what Skeletron is like in For the Worthy Master mode, so I make it extra wide. By the time I'm done, it's too close to morning to try fighting the boss, so I just warp back to base. I'm wanting to give the Eater of Worlds a try today, so I spent some time looking at my map to decide where to make an arena for him. I usually prefer to fight him above the surface and think the valley in the corruption near the dungeon looks like a pretty good spot. I then make a couple of combat potions. I still only have access to the basic 3 of regeneration, iron skin, and swiftness, and then grab some boreal wood so I can make a snow pylon village for quicker access to that side of the map. Soon enough, I'm in the snow biome and pick a natural hilltop cave and start making a basic duplex. As with my ocean duplex, this one is really simple for now, though I'll likely beautify it later. I finished the house a little before nightfall, but will have to wait until dark so its new occupants can warp in and let me get a pylon. Since they changed the happiness values in the 1.4.1 update, I can't just assign the arms dealer a nurse here, since the arms dealer hates the snow. But after a quick consult of the wiki, decide that the painter and the dryad will work for pylon purchasing. And then it starts raining slime just as I start assigning their flags. I really want to get that pylon placed though, so I just sit tight in the house, allowing slimes to congregate above me until night falls and I can run off to the side to get my NPCs warped in. Soon I've got my pylon and I use it to warp back to base. I run over to the NPC motel to grab more grenades from the demolitionist. I'm not sure if I'll want to use them or not, but figure better to have them and not need them than to need them and not have them. Then I set to work fighting the slimes. Turns out my ball of hurt is working pretty well though, as slimes aren't very smart, and I can let them bunch up on the top platform level and drop down a level if I need breathing room, as they don't follow me. Eventually I remember that I've got blue and green slime banners in my inventory and place them down in the bunker area and head back up. Yeah, that makes a big difference in my slime killing speed. A few minutes later and I finally killed enough to awaken King Slime, and look at that, he's huge! So I bust out my mini shark and start whittling him down. Unlike the regular slimes, King Slime will follow me down a level when I drop down between platforms, but he's not the best jumper, which allows me to generally stay up above him. Avoiding the slimes he leaves behind me can be a bit annoying, and as his health goes down he gets smaller and smaller, but also seems to move a bit faster. But soon enough he's defeated, and now I'm 2 for 2 in downing bosses. I use grenades to clear the slimes from the loot and then grab the treasures. Bunny. Oh hey, look at that! One of the slimes that died in the volcano dropped a slime staff. That thing has a 1 in 7,000 chance to drop from most slimes on expert mode or higher, so that is a really lucky find and will allow me to have a summoned minion now. Woot woot! Aw, look at the little baby slime, he's adorables. Above the volcano, I place my King Slime relic, gather some pumpkins that got harvested up during the fight, and then run back to base to free up my inventory and open the loot bag. Oh nice, a slimy saddle, my first mount. The special accessory is pretty useless though, as is the rest of the loot, which I just save in various chests. While harvesting my flowers, I'm notified that a traveling merchant has arrived, so I warp out to see what he's selling. Ooh, a bricklayer and an ammo box. The ammo box gives you a buff that decreases ammo usage when using guns, so that will be great, especially if I keep using the mini shark. And the bricklayer is another accessory used in making the architect gizmo pack, so now I have 3 of the 4 items needed for that. Unfortunately, I have enough cash to get them both. After downing King Slime, I'm feeling pretty confident in myself, and start making preparations to fight the Eater of Worlds and Skeletron. I start running back to the corrupted valley to start making an arena, only to remember partway there that I have a pylon I could have warped to. Duh. But I'm there soon enough and start placing rows of platforms. I seem to remember from prior worlds that on higher difficulties he shoots a lot of projectiles or something, so I'm hoping this big of an arena will give me enough mobility to avoid the boss as well as the projectiles. Though my character Odysseus seems to disagree. Soon it's night and the platforms are done, so I head over to the dungeon to try out Skeletron. And Odysseus is still really pessimistic. What's up with that? I realize that I forgot to bring my mini shark, so I warp back to base to grab it. The night is young, so I warp back to the snow pylon, then quickly jogged back to the dungeon. I drink some buffs, talk to the old man, and whoa, right off the bat I'm almost dead from, what, 2 hits from the boss? Wow, him and his hands are moving really fast here. I do my best to dodge and start laying into him with the mini shark, but before I can do much else, bounce off his head and lose my own. Ouch. I barely even scratched his health. That's what, death number 19? Though I gotta say, for this being the first death of the episode, I'm feeling pretty good. Since there's a few hours before morning, I decide to check on the fishing quest from the angler, and conveniently it's a surface level dynamite fish that I can catch from the pond beneath my house. A few minutes later I have the catch and am rewarded with a sextant. Great! This is one of the many items needed for the cell phone and will allow me to better keep tabs on moon cycles so I can get some deathweed seeds on the next full moon, which should be pretty soon. The next morning arrives and the day's quest is another surface fish, so back to my fishing pond I go. Only some silver and fishing potions as a reward this time, oh well. Next up, I want to try my hand against the Eater of Worlds, so I grab some sticky bombs, then warp to the snow pylon. While getting things set up to summon the boss through orb smashing, I almost get killed by some Eaters of Souls, but barely manage to survive. My plan is to use double jump and grappling hook to ascend out of the chasm using these platforms. I then head back to the bottom and blast the orb with a well-placed bomb and head up. Wow, he's really big and fast! Early on I get stuck in his coils though, and yeah, there are a lot of projectiles out here and I'm dead. Death number 20. I was planning to use my Jester's arrows against it, but apparently left Frostburn in the top slot. Back at base I go ahead and craft some vile powder that I'll need to make some worm food for a second attempt. Maybe starting at the surface will help prevent some early damage trying to get out of the tunnels. Then I head back to the corruption for another attempt, detouring to where I broke the shadow orb to get its loot, which is just another musket. At an evil altar, I craft the worm food, then head up to the arena. That elevator really does work pretty well, but let's try it surface style. The boss is summoned, and about 40 seconds later I'm dead, having only done slightly more damage than I had done to Skeletron. Death number 21, so much for my confidence. I head back to the corruption to gather more rotten chunks for future eater attempts, but am a bit flustered at how poorly the last few attempts went and get murdered by a devourer. Death number 22. I head back to that chasm, pick up my tombstone, and explore the cave a bit. I had paused the game at some point and checked the wiki to learn about how the Eater does shoot considerably more vile spit if he's above the surface on expert difficulty or higher, so I'll need to find a wide enough cave area to be able to fight him underground. So far these caves are pretty narrow and the amount of lava here will definitely be a problem. And then another devourer shows up, does a tight U-turn, and rips out my entrails. Death number 23. Looks like I spoke too soon earlier about my nice streak of no deaths. Per my sextant, I know that tonight is going to be a full moon, so I head back to the forest corruption to get some deathweed seeds. They do a flashing glow effect when they're in full bloom, and soon enough I have my first seeds. Down another chasm I find several more, as well as more lava. Ugh, getting a good underground arena is going to be tricky. Most likely I'll need to come back with a bunch of sticky dynamite to open things up more. Eventually I make my way back out and head over to the dungeon to try Skeletron again. This time I remove the dirt blocking the entrance first and add a row of platform at that level. But by the time I'm done it's too close to morning, as I'm pretty sure even if I manage to stay alive, the fight against Mr. Spinny Skull will take a decent amount of time. So instead I head back to the corruption to do some fishing, hoping to get an Eboncoin, which is used to make a 10% damage boosting Wrath Potion. I get bored of the fishing before long, having only gotten a single Eboncoin, which is not surprising given my low fishing power, but I do get several rock lobsters which can be cooked into a mid-level stat boosting food comparable to pumpkin pie. Next I use some sticky bombs to slightly lower the level of the lava in this cave, then build a platform bridge over it. I'll probably come back later and use a water bucket to flood the surface and turn it into safer obsidian. I eventually get smart and place a banner for the eaters, which makes killing them much easier. I then have the bright idea to see what happens if I shield charge into a devourer. Yeah, that didn't end well. Death number 24. Tired of dying in the corruption, I decide to check on the day's fishing quest, and it's an underground and caverns batfish. I look at my map and find a decent sized pond below my base and head on down. Surprisingly enough, this is basically my first time venturing into the caves this session, other than some superficial stuff earlier while exploring to the coast. I get down to the pond and start fishing, having to endure the splashing of my little slime friend. I really need to set up a fishing hole at a cavern pylon village, but we'll probably do that in the next episode. I fish a bit more after getting the batfish, hoping to get an armored cave fish that can be made into a damage reducing endurance potion, but again, low fishing power, so really low chances of getting anything good. I then head off to the left a little bit. I still need to do the Torch God event so I can automatically place biome appropriate torches, and will need to find a large open cavern for that. I end up taking a bit of a lava bath, but fortunately there's water to put out the fire. This cave might work for the torch god, but I don't feel like messing with bats right now and warp back to base. Nothing exciting from the angler again, then I head off to the dungeon for one last attempt against Skeletron for the day. A quick dash immediately after spawn gets the fight started without me losing almost all my health, but as before, I'm so focused on not taking damage myself that I fail to realize that I'm basically not doing any damage to Skeletron and forget to focus on the hands. But soon enough, my vital organs are ruptured and that's death number 25, and at that point I decide to call it a day. But, as the saying goes, failure is the greatest teacher, and I'm confident next time will go much better. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!